But you are one of their favoriteest bad guys ever. There's hope for you, Quintas.
You think there's hope for Quintas?
Oh, I think there's hope for Quintas.
I love that.
Because and maybe there's not. I don't know. I should have asked the writers that question.
There you go. Yeah, go to the source.
No turning back.
What are you called?
Matthew, Dominus.
I may yet have need of your keen powers of observation, Matthew.
I sympathize with him, the way he was raised in a rigid
family.
And that's saying something. Because as a follower of Jesus, you're the bad guy.
Yes. Yes. But Quintas is a part of something bigger that he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's part of the machine.
Even though I'm the bad guy in the show, I think people do relate to my character in that one way, that he's sort of lost in this bigger story that he doesn't fully understand.
And you make room for people like Matthew.
Yes, that's something else. That's almost like a fatherly relationship.
It is.
He wants to
It's
mentor
interesting that
him
you said
or something
that.
like
It's
that.
a fatherly relationship as opposed to a manipulative one.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear that from you. Because you wonder, when I watch, it's like, okay, is this just for Quintas' own gain? But there seems to be sadness in you when he leaves.
Yeah. Quintas is hurt when Matthew takes off. I think that Quintas saw something in Matthew, that sort of analytical machinery in his brain that he talks about. Quintas has that and sees it in Matthew and knows how that can alienate you from your peers. So he relates to Matthew and wants to cultivate that and protect it and to grow it into something that he thinks can be useful to himself, yes, obviously, but also to Matthew.
But here is what I can tell you. I was one way. And now I am completely different. And the thing that happened in between was him.
I don't know that I've ever thought at all about the character of Mary, apart from she's one of my favorite moments after his resurrection, when it's her that he chooses to say hi first to. She gets that moment. But lifting this character to the place that The Chosen has helped bring it to make me think more about her narrative. What was her story? You have brought life to this character.
Thank you.
And so if you could ask Mary something, maybe it's 2 questions, maybe it's just one, what would you ask her to better know her?
What a great question. I would ask if I'm curious about her internal world. I'm curious about, like, and this is going really specific, but like the dreams she had, the actual, like, what she dreamt of at night, if she had any sort of intuition of like what was going to be happening, what was going to come, like if she knew the significance of who she was following and you know, what the future of that would be, like if she was just kind of following and just going along with everything and like, oh wow, this is incredible, or if she somehow like secretly knew how important this moment of history was, you know?
I was once asked to give an elevator pitch. So Liz, I'm going to ask you to give it. How would you sell this show? Give me something to share with my listener.
This show is the most unexpected depiction of Jesus and his followers. It is not sanitized. It is raw. It is gritty. It is realistic. It shows real human problems in, you know, sometimes graphic detail, real human emotions that are vulnerable and challenging and relatable. And in so many ways, you know, people think of Christian media as this very, maybe
super cheesy,
one-dimensional, a little cheesy. Yeah, like just not relatable, not very human, we'll say. And The Chosen is turning that on its head and like saying this: the followers of Jesus, they were people like us, and they were flawed, and they were messy, and they were struggling. And we can see ourselves in them, and it's a hopeful show because of that.
He taught us well. He asked me to follow him. He said he was building a kingdom, a fortress stronger than stone. I believed him.
Do you feel freedom to explore the character that you have that's a real person How is that navigating? You're like, okay, I know that there's a lot of people who already know this character, think that they know this character. How do you deal with that?
Well, 100% it's easier, I think, for me, and characters also like Little James, who's played by Jordan Ross so beautifully, is because there's not much said on us in the Gospels. We're maybe mentioned a handful of times. So the writers give us that freedom to kind of look for clues in the script, but also it's a freedom to kind of play. And if they need to reel us back in, they will. But I do feel a sense of freedom while being able to express who I think Thaddeus is on The Chosen. So, yeah.
You play into the narrative so beautifully.
Thank you.
Okay, how has it impacted you? Like, I know you've done other jobs before. Is this one different? And if so, have you gotten a great story from it, a fan letter, something that's impacted you?
Yeah, 100%. The one story that stands out is, and I've told it before, but it never gets old, in my opinion. We were promoting Christmas with The Chosen last November, which went over so beautiful. Got to go back to my hometown in Livonia, Michigan, and share it with the fans there. And as I was talking with families beforehand, one specific family started to go into the theater, and their boys of 6 or 7 years old, there were 2 of them, came up and gave me a hug and said thank you. And that hit me because to see it affected in the younger generation, the message that we're trying to get, which is love one another as I have loved you, to give that message to the younger generation and have them really resonate with it. That's, people say like, oh, you're giving us a gift. They're giving us a gift right back when they show that. So, The Chosen's affected me in ways that I never thought was possible.
He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
I just think it's so fascinating because that's what I believe The Chosen really is helping us do. For people who are well-versed in Scripture, to lift it from a narrative that maybe we've heard our whole lives taught to us in Sunday school, have only thought about it in this linear way, and now there's these nuances, and you're like, oh my gosh, these are people.
That's kind of what the show is. It's like it's things that are something that, Joey always says, who plays Thomas, I heard him saying yesterday a lot, was like, you see these disciples as stained glass window pieces in Jesus, but the show is taking them off the stained glass and making them three-dimensional people. And so things that maybe we don't think is profound ends up being profound because it brings you closer to the words, right?
Yes. But do you feel encumbered at all in playing with what John is or his persona because so much is known about him?
I think that what's so fascinating about this character is we know where John ends up. We also know he lives the longest and he's one of the biggest leaders of the church. But if we show John as a leader at the start and then he ends as a leader, it's not really that fun. So the image we get of him and when he writes his book, he's in that leader zone, but he's still got tendencies. And so the writers, what they've done is they've looked at the book of John and he refers to himself as the beloved. Yeah. He's always saying he's the first one there. Salome wants John to be right next to Jesus. So he was probably an eager student, and eager students are sometimes a bit impetuous. Yes. He gets called Son of Thunder, needs to calm down a little bit. So, I don't feel encumbered at all. I think it's there's a bit of pressure there, but to play that journey of impetuous, young, emotional, impatient, anxious John, and we know where he ends up, that's that through line. And you know what? It happens in season 3. Mm-hmm. John kind of thinks, I'm ready, and Jesus is there to tell him, have faith. Yeah. Is it going to happen or not? Just have faith. Just settle down a little bit. And it's a bit of therapy. The actor, George, also gets to apply that to his real life. Yeah. So I don't feel encumbered. I feel liberated, I would say.
Am I done? Uno más, y no más. Just one more. Okay. So uno más.
Okay.
So you get an Aussie on, you got to be careful of that.
So it's been a pleasure.
It's been nice. So nice talking with you too.